Hey there, folks. Welcome to a special episode of the Jason Wright Show. So about a year ago, I get a call from my sister-in-law who tells me that there is this very bright young lady about to graduate or had just graduated from the University of Arkansas, and she's looking for a job. And she said, hey, I think you should meet her and just find out if there's something you could do to help her find a job. She's struggling to find something. And I said, sure, have her give me a call. And we talked, and in the course of that phone call, I ended up hiring Abby Neilson. And now she likes to call herself the personality hire, but here's what really happened. As a hiring manager, what I realized was that based on Abby's work ethic, yes, she had made good grades, but she had also worked hard for those good grades. She worked hard outside the classroom. And I could just tell in the course of that conversation that she was something special, that she was someone who truly cared about her career, her future, and she was willing to work hard to do the things you have to do to find success out in the workplace. And so I said, look, I'm going to bring you on. I'm going to hire you. I need someone to handle my communications. And she was very interested in working in government affairs, which is something that I do. And long story short, what happened over the last year was she very quickly went from being just an employee, but to a mentee. I had the opportunity and the blessing, quite frankly, to mentor Abby. And I couldn't have done that if she had not been someone who was willing to learn, who wanted so desperately to figure out ways to find success. And I could not be more proud of her. And then along the way, I got to meet a lot of her friends that were also recently, either they'd already just recently graduated or they were about to graduate, and they kind of became mentees. And I found myself giving Abby and some of her friends advice, some unsolicited, some solicited, but nevertheless, Abby and I got together, and she had mentioned at one point, you should do this, you should give advice to friends of mine more often, something to that effect. And basically what we decided to come up with, the boss dad. I'm kind of like her boss dad, work dad, boss dad, whatever. I do look at her as more of a daughter, or at least I take the responsibility as her mentor and supervisor as more of a kind of a father than just transactional. And what we wanted to do was create something that would give young people a place to go to submit questions, to come on the show and talk to us and just have conversations. Because if you're like me, I'm 51 years old. And those of you who kind of probably got into this conversation or this episode by accident, you were probably thinking you were going to tune into another episode of me interviewing a CEO or talking about health and wellness or something to that effect. And this is completely out of the blue. But if you're a parent and you listen to the Jason Wright Show, this show is for your kids. This show is for you to share with them, to have someone like me that's able to tell these young people all the things that you probably tried to tell your kids. But the bottom line is, as parents, they don't listen to us the way that we would like them to, but they'll listen to some complete random guy like me. So what Abby and I are trying to do is create a space where they can get not only advice, but good, sound advice. We've read the articles about how difficult it is to manage Gen Zers in the workplace because they do things that we just didn't do whenever you and I, if you're my demographic, age-wise coming up, we didn't have health and wellness days. We didn't have mental wellness days. We didn't have days that we could just take off for a protest. That was not in our vernacular. And in fact, most of you listening to this, if you're around my age, we were so grateful that we had a job that we'd work our tails off to keep that job and to improve. Whereas a lot of these folks, they have the mindset that we're lucky that they chose us. Now, never mind, they went on 50 interviews before landing the job and they cried to their mom and their friends and everybody about how they couldn't get a job. Then they finally get the job. Then all of a sudden, immediately once they get the job, they start wanting to know about mental health days, vacation, PTO, 401k. Well, they don't even talk about 401ks. If they do, they just want to know, well, why do I have to sign up for that? Isn't HR supposed to do that for me? Okay, I said I wasn't going to be cynical. I'm going to try not to be cynical about this group. But nevertheless, I want this to be a space where these young people can come and learn some good, sound wisdom that you only gain by being on this earth for a certain period of time. I've had plenty of jobs, both as an entrepreneur. I've started businesses. I've bought businesses. I've worked in the Fortune 500 world. I've seen a lot of things, and I have done a lot of things, some that I'm proud of, some not so much. I was absolutely that young, entitled 20-something once upon a time, and I made all the mistakes that come with having an entitlement mindset. And so I want to share with these young people exactly how you navigate a career, how you get over yourself, what it means to be a good servant leader, even before you wear the leader title. And then we'll just see what comes up. I mean, we'll let the young people bring it to us. And so I'm hoping that this isn't going to be something, these segments that we're going to do aren't just for the young people listening, but also for you executives, supervisors, moms, dads. You care about this generation that's coming up that will be leading the companies, that will be leading the charge, that will be setting the standards, that this will be a place that they can come and get good, sound wisdom and advice. And I'm going to do it by talking in real time to them. Not just a solo episode like what I'm doing right now in this intro, but I want to bring them on and talk to them. And so we can hear what they think in real time, give them some answers to some of the questions that they maybe questions they haven't even really thought of until we bring it up. So with that, here is the first episode ever of Boss Dad. Thanks for listening. Also, we recorded this at a coffee shop. It was at Siddell's over in Highland Park Village. So you'll hear a little bit of the ambiance. It's not the greatest audio in the world, but I think you hear it. I was trying to edit it out and make it sound much more studio-like. But, it's kind of cool. It's just Abby and I sitting down in a coffee shop, having a conversation. So I hope you'll bear with us on the audio. As these episodes go along, we'll up our game with regard to that. We'll get some in-person studio recordings. But anyway, so if you hear some of the ambiance, that's where we were. We're over at Siddell's in Highland Park Village, which is kind of like our little either counseling room, our office annex where we go and discuss the world's problems. So with that, enjoy.
All right, I hit record. What do you want to talk about? I'm listening.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know the script was going to be on me.
All right, let's talk about how this got started.
Okay, yes.
So
you go and then I'll go.
So basically, I'm going to tee it up and you fill in the blanks, because here's our hope is for young ladies and also eventually young men, but young ladies that are finishing undergrad, they're looking for that first real job. How do you interview? How do you network? All these things that, we've kind of worked on together over the last year.
Yes.
So my sister-in-law tells me that there's this very bright girl that is just finishing at the University of Arkansas. Still haven't met her, but you showed up. Just kidding. And basically connected us because you were looking for a job. And why don't you take it from there? So we do a Zoom call, and then what?
Yeah, so kind of just started where I was getting my hair done, and I was telling Jerica, I was basically like about to start crying in her chair about how
Who is my sister-in-law?
Yes, who's his sister-in-law, how I couldn't find a job, and it was just getting really stressful because I had graduated the week prior, and that's not like me. I had been searching for a job since November. Nothing was working out, and that ended up being such divine intervention and God's protection because, look at where we are now. But so pretty much I had the interview with Jason, which I don't even know if I would call that.
I don't know if there's really an interview.
We talked for like 15 minutes. He was like, yeah, I'll send you over your offer letter sometime this week. And I was like, and I called my parents after and I was like, I think I just got a job. Like, I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'm getting an offer letter. And my parents were like, from who? Because they were so confused. And what do you know, a couple weeks later, I moved to Dallas and I walk in and there's Jason Wright, and the rest is history.
And I think on maybe your first day of work, I know we had lunch at Guy.
Yeah.
Did we come here to Siddell's?
Well,
Or did we meet here like the second time I came over?
I think we met here. No, I didn't. I went into the office to do training and then I met you here.
There you go.
And then we went to Dive.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So just a little shout out to Dive, Highland Park Village, and Siddell's. So Nels has become kind of like our satellite office.
Yes.
It's just really appropriate that we're recording the very first episode of whatever we call this, boss dad boss.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I am like the kind of boss that has become as much of a dad. And I want to say that that's one of the best parts about this. And one of the reasons why I hired you soon is because here's what I realized. And for any of the other young ladies out there, or just young would-be professionals, that one of the things I liked was that, one, you had a good resume. I could tell that you had been, and it wasn't about, I mean, yes, you made good grades, but also you were very involved, but also the way you conducted yourself. And I knew that you were actually
desperate
trying to find a job and a career. And so much from my perspective, and I think this is from a lot of hiring managers, is like, it's not exactly what you know, it's what you're willing to be taught. And thinking whether or not you will be able to learn that skill or multiple skills. And you had that. And so, yes, we always laugh. You were the personality hire.
And the crazy thing is, it's still an ongoing joke. Even where I'm at now, I'm still the personality hire.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's talk about, what was his life? Within your first couple of weeks, we went to D.C., right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, a year ago yesterday was my first trip to D.C. and my first, let's just say, amazing hotel experience at the Waldorf in D.C. That was amazing. And Jason and I guess in the initial interview, it was more of just like connecting. Like, I don't think you were actually just going to hire me. Like, I think you were just going to connect me with someone. Like, that was the original phone call.
Right.
Was just to connect me with someone. So, like, going into it, we didn't really talk about what the company was. You were just like, we're going to find you, like, a way to hone in on your skills, like, tighten your skills, and also at the same time, teach you something. And so we go to D.C., like 2 weeks later, and of course I'm like freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, like what am I getting myself into? First of all, I'm someone who has like always been really interested in, I guess, anything politically, but outside of that, it was just also the fact that I was getting to travel my first 2 weeks on the job into DC is crazy. But yeah, I mean, through there we went to DC and we went to the networking event, which was amazing. At John's event, or I can't remember, was it? I don't know, we went somewhere and it was an amazing networking event. And then we went to dinner at Old Evitt, which is now like in our rotation every time we go. It's amazing. I love it. And then that's kind of when I guess this whole thing started in like our dad boss relationship, because I feel like in all of our conversations, it wasn't really centered around like work in a sense. Like, of course I had work to do and I was, working, but most of our relationship was that mentorship and me like kind of figuring out how to navigate what my next steps were. Like, because I mean, at the company we were at together, it was more of like my stepping stone into really figuring out what are my skills, what are the things I'm good at, what am I passionate about. Like, I was so down in the dumps about not being able to find a job that I was so desperate. I forgot like what my passions were and what I was passionate about. So I definitely say starting out, I mean, you kind of helped me realize, what are your long-term goals? And that's not in a sense of, I want to be CEO of whatever. It's more like professionally, mentally, spiritually, and how can you make all of those also tie in with passion, your dream job.
Right.
And I feel like our like mentorship is definitely has that foundation of like, you've always led me closer to God in any decision I make. I know you've helped me pray for so much, but at the same time, I mean, you are the ultimate girl dad and you give the best advice on like how to not lose yourself in the process of trying to figure yourself out.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that, especially my generation, we have so much being thrown at us, so much new information constantly. Traditional values are starting to go out totally out of style. All these new things coming in, we're constantly hearing, you're not good enough unless you're doing this, or you need to be working 80 hours a week or else you're not achieving enough, and you need to make $100,000 out of school. And like, that's just not how it is. And I feel like you kind of help bring me down to earth and really figure out, who am I? I feel like I did not know myself a year ago, and now, like, because of your mentorship and you helping me, like, find those passions and, you know, my reflection in the mirror, like, definitely now I am so confident in who I am because, like, of the things you've taught me
Well,
and the experiences that you let me have.
well, I appreciate that, and it's very sweet of you to say. And you're right, and this is one of the things that you okay. So here's a little advice for those girls that are just in their first job,
Yeah.
or maybe they're like where you are. They're just looking. They're trying to find that first open door.
Yeah.
Whenever you're evaluating who your mentor or your first boss is going to be, I would suggest you look for someone that asks you the questions about what are your long-term ambitions, and you may not know those. I mean, a lot of you out there listening, you have no idea what you really want to do,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But I would also say, like, one of the things you used to tell me was that it's the only job you're ever going to have for the rest of your life. You're never leaving, and I would always tell you, yeah, no, that's not true. I would love to think that we were going to work together forever, but that's not the case, because at some point you're going to outgrow this, or maybe something's going to change. But the way I always approach anyone that works with me is I want to find out where you're headed, and so that I want you to enjoy the time we have working together. I want you to learn, but more than anything, my hope is 20 years from now, when you are that CEO, or when you are doing whatever, fill in the blank, that you decided that was your ultimate ambition, that you look back and you go, you know what, so much of why I'm here today is because of the foundation that Jason helped me set in those early days. And, you know, to those out there listening that you're just starting out, you'll hear these cheesy phrases like, your network is your net worth. Okay, that's as cheesy as that is. There is a lot of truth to that, and I'm going to explain why. Just since we've met, we've got Sutton, who's out there, who I had a little bit of a hand in where she is now in Washington, D.C., working for United States
Sutton's
Senator.
my protege. I'm Jason's protege.
So I guess that makes her kind of my grandbaby.
Yes, she's
my
your
grandbaby protege. And then I've got, and that's what I like to do is like, be someone that from now on, you'll be able to call and say, hey, I'm looking at taking this job, or hey, I met this guy and I'm going to ask you hard questions. That's where the girl dad comes out in me.
Yeah.
And I think it's important and look, you mentioned that traditional values and everything are out of fashion. I want to always be a man that, for my daughters, that they know, as well as like that you someone that works with me or whatever, that you know there's one dude you can contact that has no ulterior motive, that's going to just shoot you straight and always have your best interests in mind. And, you know, for example, if we've been out to a reception and you may or may not have had a few too many cocktails and you want to call some dude, and I say, absolutely not. You're not going to call him right now. That's not right. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and call you out right here.
There is so much backstory to that. There is so much backstory to that we don't have time for, and we'll talk about it in another episode.
And we won't name any names.
And we won't name any names, but there's a lot of backstory to that.
And I think you also want to have a boss that, for example, will say to you, like I said, that very night, say, hey, look, tomorrow you're probably going to wake up and feel all paranoid, like, oh my God, what'd I say? And I just told you, don't worry, chill out. Everything's fine. And that's what you want, is somebody that truly cares about you as a person. It's not just transactional. A lot of the employers out there are going to say, okay, what can I get from this employee right here, right now to make me perform better? And then you're gone. And I never want to do that. So, and so what I think we should do, I think eventually you're going to end up being my co-host on this. So let's go ahead and just put the invite out there that either if you know Abby, or if you just happen to randomly come across this because we came with this amazing title of Boss Dad, then reach out to us. And, you know, Abby can answer questions, and I'll answer the questions that I can, best I can, whether you're looking for your first job, whether it's your second job or whatever. But with that, why don't you, what kind of questions? I know one thing we might get into is you've come up with a new nonprofit idea.
Yes.
So we
yes.
can work through that if you want
Okay.
to. But anything else that either we've experienced as part of you working with me,
Yeah.
or questions that you think that the listeners may benefit from, just why don't we just do kind of a rapid fire question deal, and I'll make up the best answers that anybody's ever heard.
Well, I mean, I think the best question, which I know, like, I feel like I know how you're going to answer this. And we've talked about this in our TikTok, which if you don't know, me and Jason are TikTok famous. We have like 1 million views over, this is maybe our 3rd trip to DC.
We even got recognized in
We
front of
did.
the White House. That
We
was
got
pretty cool.
recognized in front of the White House by these cute girls that were like, "Oh my gosh, are you advocate, Jason?"
Yeah.
And Jason looked at me and he was like, "Do not get a big head."
Calm
and I was like,
down.
already
Calm down.
planning my trip to fame, and I was like, "Okay, I'm quitting." So yeah, follow my TikTok if you want to see some really fun videos of our travels together. But I mean, I've asked you this a million times, but I always say like, what's the biggest piece of advice you have to someone? And you always say, never compromise your integrity. And that's something that sticks to me every time. So I'd love for you to explain that to them, kind of deeper into what you mean by that, in like situations where you've seen yourself or me have to choose not to compromise our integrity.
That's a good one. And yeah, so to anyone listening out there, if you end up, especially like in sales or anything that has to do with persuasion, you're trying to close a deal. I know it sounds trite, but there's an old saying from Mark Twain that says, you're never wrong to do the right thing. If you ever feel that conflict in your stomach about any decision you're about to make, walk away. Don't do it. You always have the option to walk away. And look, a lot of you may end up in a decision in a situation where you think, if I don't do this thing, even though it goes against my values or my principles, then I may lose my job. No job is worth that. I promise you will be okay. And that's another thing, just real quick sidebar. The first 5 to 10 years of your career, don't worry. You're never going to break anything so bad it can't be fixed.
Yeah.
You guys have so much runway, so much life left, so much career left. I know at times it'll seem like the end of the world on a day-to-day basis. It's not. It's just another day. And with every new day is a completely new opportunity to change everything. So with that, always, always, always maintain your integrity and your principles. And here's what's going to happen. A lot of times you get in these situations, and it can be tiny things. It can be like maybe you've decided for, Movember, you're not going to drink for November, right? And you go to a business dinner and everyone else is drinking, and then the pressure comes like, go ahead, why not? And you think, if I say no, and this is a really minor deal, okay, this isn't a big thing, but you say, no, I'm abrogating alcohol for at least a month. You may think that you're going to be kind of like, oh God, what's up with Abby, or what the hell? What will happen more times than not, you'll gain respect.
Yeah.
When you choose to do the right thing, even though you think it might be frowned upon in the moment, I guarantee you the people that matter most, the people that respect that decision are the ones that you will gain favor for it. And you always want to wake up each and every day not regretting any decision you made in business. And look, you can make wrong decisions. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna choose the wrong one.
Absolutely.
But there's never a reason ever to compromise your values, your principles. Don't do that. And that's what I always told you. Like we did one of our funny little videos about what's something that, would cause me to want to take disciplinary action.
Or like, what's a reason, or what's something I could do that would make you fire me? And your answer was, because guys, he could have fired me many times. No. But, and your answer was compromise your integrity.
That's it.
Which you've pretty much laid that foundation for me that I don't think I'll ever do that. Just because you've shown me like what can happen if you do, and like how it's never, and I mean, that goes back to our faith foundation. Like, that's just part of being a Christ follower, is your integrity is a lot of what you have, and it's something that, portrays a lot of Jesus. And so you never really want to let that that light dim as well.
Yeah, like for example, in our business, if we're not able to get a piece of legislation passed through all the lobbying and dinners and everything we did, and it doesn't work out, I'm never going to fire somebody for that.
Yes.
But when it comes to you did something that compromised the integrity of the organization, of yourself, yeah, that's a fireable offense.
Yeah.
You know, not getting a sale, not closing a deal, making the wrong decision, messing up, making a mistake.
Yeah.
Those aren't reasons that I believe to get fired.
Yeah.
I think a deliberate and willful act of compromising your principles, yeah, that's a different story.
No, I totally agree. And this, I mean, it kind of goes into tying with what we were talking about with my new passion project.
Yeah.
I feel like one thing you have really taught me is in like, I mean, you're, let's just say, not a day over 40.
Yeah, right.
And add like 12 to it.
Hey.
To it. But you taught me that like it's never worth the money. And like it's never worth like all the success in the world. It's never worth not being happy with your job, staying in a place where you feel like you are not growing, staying in a place you feel like you're not doing work for the kingdom, Jesus and his kingdom, and like anything that you feel like is not growing you personally, spiritually, mentally, you need to, you know, find something that does. And I have a great and amazing job right now that I absolutely love. And I feel like I'm also at the point, and I've been called recently to start working on more of a passion project as well, which two things can happen at once, and you can be great at two things at once. And I think that, you know, Jason's kind of taught me to not only chase those dreams, but chase your passion, chase your calling. And I know you're a very prayerful person, and even in my transition from me not being, you know, your manager or like working under you, and for me going to where I'm at now, and throughout that whole thing, you were like, two things can coexist at once. You can be happy and sad and excited and doubtful and all those things. But I don't know, I just really feel like I've been called to do more of something in service. And if you know Jason and Jimlyn, his wonderful, beautiful wife, they are two of the most servant-hearted, giving people ever. And just being around them this past year has just really inspired me to do more of that. And I guess little backstory, I've just seen how like Jimlyn gives back with Hot Tots and Tyler, and just how you give back with every single thing you do. Like literally in every action you take, I feel like there's two sides to it. There's the giving and the like receiving part of everything. And it's just been really inspiring for me to watch. So I know that my future will probably end up with a nonprofit, hopefully tied to something Jason's doing, and would bring us to work together again. But yeah, so like that's where my heart's headed, and I don't want to give too much about it because still, you know, working through a lot of those, but I just feel like my heart is being felt led to do a passion project.
Right.
And if that means that I won't be reaching the what I a year ago thought was success, which is a dollar amount, to be able to give back and serve, like I've come to the realization that that doesn't matter. And that's also something you've taught me. As a year ago, I was like, I want to be the CEO, I want to make money, like I want to be successful. And like you kind of taught me, like those aren't success. Success is no amount of money. Success is no amount of title. Success is waking up every day and feeling like you accomplished your goals for your family, your goals that the Lord has put on your heart, and your goals personally as well. And so I feel like that is now my view of success. And it was not like that a year ago. And I mean, that's just because you being around you and Jimlyn have just kind of changed my heart to see that. So little teaser, I guess, but yeah.
Well, okay, so you said a lot there that I think we can unpack some really practical advice for the listeners. First of all, you mentioned it. Two things can be true at the same time. You can have a job simply because you need money. You need shelter, you need food, you need to go socialize, and that costs money.
Yeah.
So it's quite all right to have a job.
Yes.
And for those of you listening, if you have some passion that you want to chase, and I don't care what it is, don't think because you take this other job that has to die. What you have to do, it's only up to you as to whether or not that dream lives or dies.
Yeah.
I'm living this right now with Addie, my Addie, my youngest daughter, my biological daughter. And, Addie is the real life version of Andy Sachs from the Double West Prada. Phenomenal movie that we probably watched 150 times. Abby, when she finished at CU Boulder, she wanted to be a writer, and she also wanted to be in New York. If you know anything about being a writer in New York, as you can see from the Devil Wears Prada, it's not easy in fiction, and it's not easy in real life. So what Abby did is she got a job at a wealth management firm in Manhattan, working right on Fifth Avenue, right next to Trump Tower, not writing anything other than the company newsletter and the memos of the founder of the company. He loved literature. He knew Abby loved literature, and they created a connection. And so it wasn't the job she wanted, but she was getting to kind of satisfy that itch as she's paying the bills. She's still doing the same thing. She's in wealth management, but she's not giving up on her dream of either being a chef or a writer someday. And I always told her that, no, look, go get a job to pay the bills, but keep your dream alive in your spare time. And guys, listen to me. Just because you don't get paid to do something doesn't mean you're not actually doing that thing.
Yeah.
A great example of this also, if you've ever seen the movie The Legend of Bagger Vance with Will Smith and Matt Damon about a golfer, okay, the book was actually written by a guy named Stephen Pressfield. Stephen Pressfield wanted to be a screenplay writer and a novelist for years. If I'm not mistaken, he wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance when he was 56 years old, after he had spent nearly 30 years writing failed screenplays, failed books, being a truck driver, a farmer. He did whatever it took to pay the bills, but he never stopped writing. And a great book that he wrote is called Turning Pro. And what Turning Pro talks about is kind of this thing right now that we're talking about, and it might be a book that I need to give you, is if you have, like Abby's talking about, a nonprofit that she wants to start, but she's also got her quote-unquote day job, Turning Pro gives you the mindset that when you decide to be this thing, when you decide to be the executive director of a nonprofit, then you start being the executive director of a nonprofit, and you set a schedule that from 8 to 5 or whatever is your day job. But guess what? After you've rested from 6 to 9 before you go to bed, if you are the executive director of Abby's nonprofit, and you're going to start networking, you're going to do research, you're going to figure out how you can change the world through your nonprofit, and you treat it as though it is a real job.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that all of you out there should do. I know some of your friends, they want to be in fashion, right? They want to be there for Fashion Week in New York and Harrison, sitting front row at the runway and all that. Okay, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that you need to be the lead designer at Zimmerman or something like that. What it means, though, is if you can get a job, even in retail, learning the product, learning the customer, and being around it, being in that atmosphere, knowing, because here's the deal, and here's kind of one of the takeaways I hope all of you get from this, is like, it is far more important that you know who you are, and I'm talking about professionally here, that you know who you are. If inside of you is a world-class designer, if you are in fact the next Nardos, and you know that, then who the hell cares what anybody else thinks? And that's where all of you listening to this right now, you're going to be so challenged, because we live in such a world that is consumed with the matrix, that so much of our self-value gets determined by what other people think. And a lot of what other people think is how much money you make, what job you have. You want to be in fashion, then why are you working at Love Shack Fancy? I thought you really wanted to go to New York. They said, well, you know what? I'm going to Love Shack Fancy because obviously they've done something right, and I'm going to learn as much as I can. That's another thing too, kind of a segue into one of the things I told both of my girls, in particular Abby, because she's taken these jobs that were never her dream, never her ambition. I said, look, this is just graduate school.
Yeah.
And all of you listen to this. This right now, your first job out of school, you're getting paid for graduate school. Just because you're not having to make grades, and think about that, you're not having to make the grades, you're not having to deal with professors, you don't have to go to class, and you're probably learning a hell of a lot more on that first job. It's all how you frame it, and it's all how you decide to leverage and use your days, your work, your hours, and it's what you believe it to need. Don't get caught up. I remember one of my buddies, one of my fraternity brothers, when we graduated, I was recruited by Sealy Mattress Company, okay? Now, I wasn't going to go work for a mattress company. I'm Jason Wright. I can go work for really cool companies like Sealy Mattress, but here's what I knew. I came here to Dallas and went around with one of the regional managers for the day, and I thought to myself, this would be such a fun job. And they all made a lot of money too. I was like, I'd make a lot of money, it'd be fun. But my ego said, no, I can't tell anybody to work for Sealy Mattress. Next year, one of my buddies, he goes and he wants to go work for Sealy Mattress. Now, he was smarter than me. He was the president of my fraternity after me. Very bright guy, sharp, leader, all of it. They didn't hire him. He had to go work somewhere else. Finally got a job at Sealy Mattress. Fast forward 20 years later, still in the mattress business, making $3 million a year as the CEO of a major company because he didn't let his ego get in the way. He decided, I like this business. It matches my skill set. I can have fun with it. So that's another thing, guys. Don't let your first job determine what you think of yourself, what you do yourself, and know that you're going to go through probably 5 jobs before you ever settle into what you really, really want. What I would say on the spiritual side of it, do your work as though you're doing it unto the Lord. Now, don't let that be a burden where you think, oh my gosh, I have to be perfect at this job because after all, I'm working for Jesus every day. No, I'm not saying that. What I think was more important is that if you do it, then all of a sudden you realize a sense of gratitude. You realize that there is no job too small, too big. You do it to the best of your ability. And I can guarantee you, I can promise you, if you're just the absolute best at that task at hand, people will come find you. You'll never look for a job a day in your life.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot there, but I think like right now where you are, the cool thing is you're getting paid to do the research on your nonprofit, to go see what works, what doesn't. You've seen, we built nonprofits together, and you were a part of building the nonprofit that I lead, and it's hard to raise money. Go figure out how you raise money. You know what not to do. You know what receptions not to hold. We've done those. So anyway, every single job, every single minute right now in your job that you think those early days, and this is coming from a guy who completely blew his first few jobs. I had the most amazing opportunities right out of college. I mean, the CEO of the first company I went to work for hired me. I was his mentee, and I was so entitled. I didn't like how much money I was making. I didn't like the title I had. I was so entitled. Again, I still had this attitude. I'm Jason Wright. I'm not going to be an account manager. I mean, I'm 23 years old. I should be a vice president. Yeah. Never mind, I had done nothing and to deserve that. So this is coming from a guy that hasn't always done it right. I'm speaking from a place of being right where you are. I told Abby and Rylan this weekend when we were out in California for Father's Day, we just got to talking about parenting. And guys, here's something I want y'all to listen to too. Whenever you have some old dude like me talking to you, especially your own parents, if they get frustrated with some of the decisions you're making, things you're doing, here's why. Is because as parents, we have the amazing ability to see the future because we lived the past that has, because now we're living in the future with hindsight being 2020. And I told Rylan and Abby, I said, that's one of the hardest things about being a parent is because it doesn't matter what I know and how much of their future I've already seen. They'll either get it or they won't. And I hope that through these conversations and through these episodes that you and I put out, that maybe some of the young people listening will be like, maybe I should land on that. And maybe it'll prompt them to want to ask us some questions. And I would love to be a virtual mentor to some of these folks listening. That'd be cool.
Yeah, and I think a cool idea that I just kind of thought of would be is we can always have like question boxes or send us a DM. Jason goes through social media hides, but I'm always on the gram, so send me a DM. But I feel like, yeah, I mean, there's just so much wisdom you have to give, and I feel like there's so much wisdom you've given me that like I want to share as well. And like we try to do that through Sutton and Josie and like all of our, little projects that we have. But I feel like it's more just like when I think about like the foundation that's been set from like having a mentor, and like you've even reached out to me to having other mentors as well that are in different fields, different stages of life, and even female mentors. And
well, that's a good one. Let's talk about that because, right. Practical advice. So Abby comes to me and she says, because there's this incredibly successful CEO in Washington, D.C. that we work with.
Yeah.
And Abby's like, I would love to meet her. And what did I advise you to do?
I asked her to get a copy. You're like, just ask her to get a copy and ask to interview her and, ask her a few questions. And I ended up doing that. And we went to brunch at the Waldorf, which somehow everything leads back there in Washington, D.C. And she is now someone who like I know I can go to with any question. She's a huge mentor for me and someone I look up to, and just her success is strictly amounted to her being willing to take jobs that she knew like she could field herself from taking. And I mean, it's just an awesome person, but she's also someone who I will always have in my corner now.
Well, and you're leaving out the best part. It ended up with an invitation to the White House.
Oh my gosh.
To get to sit on the front row in front of your hero.
Guys, I did, so we had that lunch, and then I always forget that that's what led to that. I am sitting at my house in Dallas, Texas, and it is a Friday afternoon, and I get an email from said mentor that's like, hey, can you be or a text, and she's like, hey, can you be at the WH at 11 a.m. on Tuesday? And I was like, WH, what does that stand for? And I was like, so I sent to Jason, I was like, hey, do I need to go to this meeting? Thinking it was just at the place that she's the CEO of, because it sounds very similar. And I was like, hey, is this like a meeting I need to fly in for or whatever? I was like, and then she name drops someone who's going to be there. And if you know anything about me, guys, Caroline Levitt is literally my biggest just mentor. I am the biggest Caroline Levitt lover. I think she is just a badass. I think she puts her faith and family first, and I just love that about her. I think she's a go-getter. She does not take any talk from anyone, and I love that about her. But yeah, she had kind of mentioned that there was a ladies' luncheon going on. And so I was like, okay, yeah, that'd be awesome. So I get there. It's at the White House, and Kellyanne Conway, who is another amazing press secretary, and then, amazing press secretary. And then also at this,
Kellyanne was actually a senior advisor.
Senior advisor, yeah. I was just saying, I knew she was a senior advisor, and so then we go to the White House, and speaking is the one and only Caroline Levitt. And of course, I was sitting front row. I literally, guys, I've never felt that way in my entire life. Like, when you're like about to go on a first date and your stomach is like so nervous and you feel like you can throw up and you're just like so amazed. Like, that was me. I was sitting there and we were asking questions. I got to talk to her and I just kept smiling, and I probably looked like a dork, but it was truly like one of the best days of my life. And Jason can attest to this. What's the one thing I told you? One thing. I was like, in the next 5 years, what's the one thing I wanted to do?
You said two things. You said you were going to meet Caroline Levitt, and I said, we're going to make that happen.
Yeah. And what do you know? Jason made that happen. And I got to meet Caroline Levitt and just like get to see her heart in like such a small room of people. I think there was like 20 people there total. But she's the exact same. And like seeing that from someone who is, I do lean conservative, and I also am someone who, you know, loves the traditional values that Caroline follows of like her family being first, her faith being first. And although she has the coolest job in the world, in Trump too right now, I think that she also does put all of those traditional values first. And that's what I love about her. And she's definitely motivated me as someone who is in this culture of not getting married till you're 37 to like actually have that as a goal and be like, you know, don't wait until you're later on in life to have kids and like settle down and, you know, look for that godly husband. Like, I don't know. She just motivates me in so many ways, and we can unpack that in a total different episode. But I mean, other than her, we have like here in Dallas, you've given me amazing women mentors. And it's truly, I mean, it's just awesome. And so I can tell you right now, guys, get some mentors. I have the best. If I can share, I guess. But yeah, I really can't give you more advice than to surround yourself and build yourself with people who are smarter than you, more successful than you, where you want to be at in some life, people that are wiser than you, people that and I mean, most of all, have that foundation of faith, because every decision they make, I know, is backed with faith-based values. And that's how I make my decisions and, you know, lean to really live my life. So I hope that everyone I try to encounter has that too.
Well, and I want to say something too, like a little nugget as far as, again, I want you guys to walk away with some tactics. That when Abby came to me and said something about, and we'll name drop Susan Hirschman. She's great, and maybe she'll listen to this. I said, don't interview her. Guys, do this. Don't send an email. And I know in your generation, I'm not being cynical. I'm just saying, you guys are used to texting. You don't talk. But you're going to have to go into a world where face-to-face interaction is still very highly sought out and thought of. And communication skills are something you have to develop. And one of the things you don't want to do, if you want to meet somebody, don't go up to them and go, hey, I'd like to pick your brain. Hey, I'd like to take you to lunch. I'll tell you right now, I don't want to go to lunch with you. I just don't. I don't even want to have a phone call with you. But if you tell me, hey, would you mind make me a commitment. Would you mind looking at your calendar? Could I have 15 minutes to interview you? When you say interview, okay, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
I may say back, and the person may say back, I tell you what, why don't you put your questions in an email? That way I have time to digest it myself and offer that. Make it low stakes for the person that you want to interact with. Say, hey, would you mind giving me 15 minutes on a phone call, or I can drop by your office just to interview you really quickly? Or if you would like, I can send you the questions via email. I would really appreciate it. And you would be amazed. Also, never ask people for a favor. Always ask them for advice.
Yeah.
If you will say, hey,
big one.
I would like your advice on a certain topic, because I'm telling you, people like me, and I'm not that unique. I mean, look, we've got egos like everybody else, and we like to know that somebody wants to learn from our experiences. If you ask me for advice, okay, that makes me feel good, and so therefore I'm much more likely to want to share it with you. If you just ask for a favor, you want to pick my brain, first of all, there ain't much picking to be done there. This brain is not all that great to pick at. But I do have some advice, some better than others, but I'm willing to share that. So, and don't be afraid.
That's the thing, is our generation is so afraid of rejection. And I preach this to my friends, whether it's with, you know, I mean, I think of how Jamie Franklin, how I slid up on one of her stories and I was like, Jamie, if you somehow come across this, I'm still excited to hang out. But the thing with Jamie was, I was not scared. I slid up on her story and I was like, you were such an inspiration, after she had posted one of her amazing things that she's done. And she slid up back and she was like, hey, Abby, if you're ever in DC, let me know. Let's go grab coffee. And like, we've talked so much back and forth and texted, and she gave me her number. And like, now someone who I thought was so unattainable to ever get to know and like get to interview, I now get to talk to Jamie and I have her number, and like, she's accessible, and like, I get to, you know, have her knowledge that she has and see that through her social media as well. But I think that that's a huge thing with my generation, is everybody's scared of rejection through, whether it's like sending a DM for a guy or guys, girls, vice versa. Like, sending a DM has only ever gotten me higher to where I want to be and closer to where I want to be. Like, and if they don't respond, oh, well, that is God's way of protecting you. Rejection truly is protection. And I can tell you that because I would not be sitting at this table if the Lord had not rejected me 87 times. So guys, that's how many jobs I applied to and got denied from that I was very qualified for, thought I was. And like every one of those was a rejection to put me at this table right here to where I can now get to talk to y'all about the things that have built me into the person I am and the professional, I guess, young professional that I am.
Well, I love that. And then we'll wrap it up, Doll. We've just blown through 43 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
On our first episode. How
feels
about
like
that?
25.
So we knew we had something to talk about.
I know.
And so also, one of the things I want you girls to, in particular the girls, and the dudes too, I got some things to say to you.
Yeah, guys, you'll need to start
I'm telling you right now, Abby, I want to do some dating episodes.
Guys, he actually gives really good advice.
I want to, because I have a very strong no douchebag policy.
No douchebag.
I maintain a very high anti-douchebaggery policy, and so I'm happy to share that with you. I'll be that old dude that's want to say, yeah, no, you do not tolerate that, or maybe, okay, look, maybe you're being a little too hard on the dude, giving him a chance. I've done that with you.
You've done both with me.
Exactly.
Where you're like, get him out, and then you're like, you're being too hard on him.
Exactly. So I want to be able to do that, and who knows, maybe we'll actually get Abby and Rylan on here sometime. That'd be pretty funny.
Guys, that would be amazing, especially because like Rylan's who I go to when it's like, you know, the marriage and dating and stuff like that. So I think it would be great to have her on here, and then Abby, because they're in like the two different stages. And so I think, and I'm the single one, Abby's in a very good relationship, and Rylan's obviously happily married. And so I think that would be perfect for all three of us, 3 point of views.
Yeah.
Well, that's so fun.
That was. It's a lot of fun. And any of you girls that know Abby, if you want to be on the show, that's what I want to do. That's my deal. And maybe we'll do I'd love to do.
Gabby Gage, if you're listening, you're coming on.
Yes, Gabby, we got some stuff to say to you, girls, so bring it. But anyway, maybe we'll do we'll do some of these on camera, and we'll all get together, and I'll take questions or whatever. Yes. And I'm perfectly happy for you guys to make fun of me. I have no problem. I've got thick skin.
It happens a lot.
It does. It happens a lot. I can take it.
But you will make fun of us, too.
Oh, I'll bust y'all's chops, too, so get ready. All right, well, thank you guys for listening. I hope you found it beneficial, and there's a lot more to come. Thanks, Abby. Good job.
Thank you, Jason. Bye, y'all.
All right, folks, there you have it. The first episode of Boss Dad in the can. I'm going to leave it to Abby to share this with her friends. And if you are one of Abby's friends and you're listening to this, we want to hear from you. We want you on the show. And some of you we've already spoken to. You know who you are. Sutton, Gabby, Josie, Evie. The list could go on. And so I'm not going to name last names, but those are some of the first names. And so if you heard your name, then you're being recruited to come on to Boss Dad. We're going to make this fun. We hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for listening. We're out.